Probably a good idea now to have a brief look at the life and career of Mussolini, an important figure in 20th century world history. He's associated with the birth of fascism, the fascist movement, which was in Italy and later on in Germany. So let's look first at Italy after World War One. A lot of Italians had been killed in the war. I've read different numbers, 600,000, 700,000, certainly more than 500,000 Italians had died in the war. They'd actually, at the beginning of the war, if they were going to go with their earlier treaty obligations, they would side with Germany and Austro-Hungary, but they didn't. At the Treaty of London, Italy was promised quite a lot of land if it sided with the Allies. Now then, at the Treaty of Versailles, this gentleman here on the right is Orlando, the Italian representative at the treaty, and they really didn't get what they wanted. They didn't get what they were promised. They expected to get more, and Orlando left the Treaty of Versailles furious. He was very, very angry indeed. After World War One, Italy is thrown into chaos. There are street battles between supporters of the communists on the one hand and between supporters of right-wing groups on the other hand. Absolute chaos in Italy. So who was Mussolini? What was his role? What was his part to play? Well, he was born in 1883. Somewhat surprisingly, for the person who started off the ultra-right-wing fascist party, he was actually a left-wing socialist journalist up to and during the war. But when the war broke out, World War One, he broke away from the majority of socialists and communists who didn't support the war. Many communists and socialists saw the war as a fight between capitalist powers and they shouldn't get involved. Mussolini, however, he did like drama. This is something that he said at the time. Do you want to be spectators in this great drama, or do you want to be its fighters? And Mussolini's politics now start to move towards more nationalism, or aggressively acting in the interests of your own country, in his case, Italy. He started the fascisti movement, or fascists. Again, he liked drama, he liked spectacle, he liked uniforms, and his followers walked around in distinctive black shirt uniforms. It gave them an impression of order and power as well. And he referred to himself as Il Duce, or the leader. Again, this is one of the fascist ideas, the idea of a strong leader who can lead you out of chaos. So the fascists actually did take power in Italy. In 1922, there was the so-called March on Rome. Mussolini and thousands of his supporters did a spectacular march on Rome. They had the support of the king, who was basically worried. There's so much chaos in Italy, they're afraid of the communists, and it seems that Mussolini and the fascists can at least provide law and order. They can bring stability, and they can end the threat of communism, which is a big threat to the old-fashioned elites in Italy, the business owners, the aristocracy, and the church. So Mussolini can get rid of that fear as well, the fear of communism. Initially, Mussolini did have to share power with others in the government, but then there were what were called rigged elections. Rigged elections are basically dishonest elections where one of the parties cheats and makes sure the election goes their way. They know before the election that they're going to win. So rigged elections ensure that the fascists have a complete grip on power, and next, other political parties are banned. So the fascist party, headed by Mussolini, becomes the only party in Italy. Italy becomes a one-party state and effectively a dictatorship. So what does Mussolini do next? In 1935 and 1936, he's a little bit worried about the expansion of Hitler in Europe at this stage, or possible expansion. He wants to distract his people at home from the Depression with a glorious foreign war. And so he invades Abyssinia. We're going to look at that more next lesson. In 1936, he actually becomes very friendly with Hitler, and the Rome-Berlin axis is formed. So there's an alliance between Italy and fascist Germany under Hitler. And in 1940, when the war seemed to be going well for Hitler, Mussolini joined in on the side of Hitler in the Second World War. Obviously, it's a picture of Hitler and Mussolini there being rather jovial and friendly together. It didn't work out well for Mussolini, however. In 1943, the Allies invaded Italy. Mussolini was captured. He was actually rescued by German paratroopers, but later on, as Germany is collapsing in the Second World War, Mussolini is captured by communist partisans. He and his wife are mutilated and hung up on meat hooks, so he came to a somewhat sticky end. Let's have a little look now at some of the main Italian fascist ideas, and many of these ideas are later taken up by Hitler and the National Socialist parties, but there's a bit of a difference, which we'll talk about as well. So, number one, pride in the country. Strong nationalism and pride in your own country. Seeing your country struggle and achieve dominance over other countries. The Nazis added an extra twist of evil on top of that with their racial ideology, but Mussolini didn't really share that. It was pride in Italy, the country of Italy. They believed war was a good thing. This whole concept, this notion of violence and struggle leading to success for your country, the ideals of bravery and battle. War was regarded as a good thing. It could advance the national interests. One strong leader to lead the country forward, not the weakness and the mess of democracy as perceived by Mussolini. So one strong leader. Again, this principle is echoed in the German Nazi Party later on. As is the next one, a very traditional and old-fashioned, a conservative view of the role of women. Women should be at home. They should be homemakers, looking after their baby, looking after their husband. They shouldn't be out, for example, doing jobs in politics. Those sorts of jobs should be reserved for men. So a very old-fashioned view of the role of women. Something else, something called self-sufficiency. Again, this is later echoed in the Nazi ideals. The idea of self-sufficiency, that as a country produces all of the things that a country needs inside the country itself. So things like food, raw materials, manufactured goods, these are all produced inside the country, so it's not dependent on foreign powers for things. It makes the country stronger in a way, I guess. So those are some of the ideals of Italian fascism and a little bit about the rise of Mussolini.